Hi everyone, welcome to the Knit Shift episode 70. My name is Laura and today is Monday, October 10th, 2016. Thank you so much for checking out my podcast today, whether it's your first visit to the Knit Shift or you've been with me for a while. I am a journalist in Virginia. I live in an apartment with my boyfriend Josh and our dog, our Cocker Spaniel, Gracie. So this podcast is a little bit about my life as a journalist, but really it's all about the yarn. Let's be real. Show notes can be found at theknitshift.com. This episode and all episodes are available on iTunes and YouTube. I'd love it if you subscribed in either or both locations. I'm on Instagram as Laura Mahalski. I'm on Ravelry as Yarnstormer. We do have a group for the podcast over on Ravelry. If you go to the groups tab and search for the Knit Shift, you will find us. We do have a knit-along going on right now. It's the Fall Shawl Knit-along, and it runs through October 31st. It started August 1st, but there's still time, if you wanted to knit a shawl that you've been putting off for some time. If you'd like to make it, now's the time to cast on. Basically, the goal is to knit a shawl, no specific pattern. The higher the yardage, the more chances you'll have for winning a prize. The chatter thread has all the details. The FO thread is for just photos of finished objects, no chatter, please. And I will be drawing prizes soon after October 31st. We are using a hashtag on Instagram. It's hashtag TKS Fall Shawl. So check it out if you would like to see what some folks are making. In today's episode, I have a few finished objects for you, and I have a few works in progress that you have not seen. So I've been a busy knitter this week, as it turns out. I wanted to give you an update on my Draggy hat, which I shared with you last week as a finished object. Last week I had not yet blocked the hat, and this week I have. Plus I attached a pom-pom. And when I cast off, it felt a bit too small, so I got balloon, literally a balloon. For some reason the grocery store only sold them one at a time, and they didn't have like party planning balloons. It was a Halloween balloon, so I blocked this hat on a weird skull balloon. It was kind of funny. So it's this gorgeous pattern with these pearl triangles on it. And so I blocked it, and it's quite a bit more slouchy, which I'm having kind of a bad hair day, to be honest, so I don't mind putting it on and messing things up. I feel like my hair is at a weird length for hats right now. I haven't decided if I want to keep it short or if I want to grow it out, so I have a lot of these little floofies, which is a very scientific term here. So if I want to wear it and have a little slouch, I really have to pull it back on my head. And I'm not used to wearing hats like that, to be honest, so I love this hat and I think it's really pretty, but when I actually put it on, I'm not so sure how I feel about it. I can try and wear it more snugly, and I feel like that just looks funny to me. I mean, I have the little ear floofies, so I don't know. If anyone has any tips on wearing hats with short hair, let me know. Do I need to pin it in place? This feels very hipster, and I know I'm wearing a plaid shirt right now, but I'm not a hipster, you guys. I don't know. Maybe it looks okay from this angle. I need help, guys. I'm putting up the bat signal, so please leave me your tips for how to pull off a hat with short hair. I will say the one tricky thing about this pattern is, and this is something my friend Tiffany said when we were knitting together. She said there's not really instructions to lengthen the hat. So if you have a big head, the depth of the hat is what you get no matter what. So, you can't really make it longer to accommodate for, poofy hair or that kind of stuff. Hopefully my hair doesn't look too bad. I'm actually, in the interest of full disclosure, I'm doing this podcast blind. I took my glasses off because I was getting some funky glare. I was too lazy to put on my contacts, which are, literally on the other side of this wall. So everything's a little fuzzy right now. I did make this pom-pom. It required, when I got done trimming it into shape, I had a pile of yarn that was about 4 times the size of this pom-pom. It's not perfect, but it works. And I haven't made a ton of pom-poms, but I feel pretty good about this one. So it's on there pretty securely, and I used a tutorial that I found on YouTube by Vicky Howell, who is a knitting designer. I basically wrapped the yarn around my fingers until they were almost almost blue, and I decided maybe this is a little too tight on my hand. And then I cut off the end, and I threaded a needle and put it through, the yarn that was up against my hand, and I had Josh's help, and I tied a knot to secure it. And then I used my scissors to trim the back side of it, and then I slowly shaped it into a pom-pom, and all of that carving, and it was like I gave the pom-pom a haircut, and that's what led to the massive pile of loose ends. So I'm seeing this here, and I kind of want to do a little trim on these little pieces that are sticking out. But I was watching Pin Feathers and Pearls podcast, and Candace had made a pom-pom for her hat, and she was talking about how it was a little odd on one side, but pom-poms need to have a little personality. So I'm okay with it being imperfect. So what I did was I threaded, after I trimmed it and got it into, I would say 30% of the way there pom-pom wise, I again cut a piece of yarn, pushed it through the middle of the collection of yarn here, and that was what I used to tie it into place. And I basically went down right in the hole in the, from where I had drawn the yarn up, and finished the hat on the very top, put it through inside, and then I brought it back up, and I went around the base of the pom-pom a couple times to secure it, and it made the base a little bit messy, but that's okay. I mean, no one's gonna see it because it's under there, under the pom-pom. So I think that saved me from having this pom-pom be more loosey-goosey than it already is. So I spoke about the details of the pattern in the last episode, but I'll put them again here. This is Periwinkle Sheep watercolor sock held double. The colorway is 11 ways to dry a chili pepper. I use size 7 needles for the ribbing, and I use size 8 needles for the body. So really, really nice pattern. Again, I'm not sure it's the best fitting hat for me, but that's my fault. That's not the pattern. So there you have it, my draggy hat. I have 2 more finished objects for you. The first is a pair of socks that is a Christmas gift. These were nearly finished. These were nearly finished last week. These are socks for my dad for Christmas. They are online super sock in the forest. It's the forest line. I don't know the colorway number, but I will put it in the show notes. I used a random opal gray for heels, toes, and cuffs. And that was really good because I had about 10 to 15 grams of yarn left over in the main colorway when I was all done. So my dad wears a men's US 13 shoe, so these are rather, they're longer than my sock blocker has room for. My dad's feet are also just big around, so I use 72 stitches for the foot and the leg, and these are my general vanilla sock recipe, and I do them toe up. These were one at a time on size 1 needles, which is a 2.25 millimeter, my trusty Chiaogu needles, and I did a fish lips kiss heel, and yeah, carried on up the leg and did quite a bit of ribbing. So these are my 11th pair of socks this year, and I'm quite happy. I think he'll really like them. They'll wear and they'll wash well. It's an online super sock, so it's one of those hardy German 75-25 superwash merino nylon blends. And my final finished object to share with you is one that I didn't think I would finish. I spoke about it last week in a hopeful tone that I would have it done, but I didn't know that I would actually finish it. And this is the Anders sweater for my niece or nephew. My brother and sister-in-law are expecting, and they'll find out they'll find out a month from today if it's a boy or a girl, and I can't wait to find out. So I've been doing a lot of gender-neutral knitting. This is a very heavily modified version of the Anders cardigan, and obviously I have not woven in my ends. They're all still loosey-goosey. I've not washed or blocked this yet. This is a paid-for pattern by Soren Claire Kerr. I believe it's about $6. It ranges in size from newborn up to I want to say 2 or 3T, so it's got a nice range in there. This pattern taught me a lot of things. It taught me how to do a Vickle braid, which is this horizontal braid between the ribbing and the stockinette body. It's really actually quite simple. It's not at all complicated, although I did manage to screw it up in the bottom of the sweater, but it really does add a really nice touch, I think, to the sweater. Sorry, the color's getting blown out. This was probably the most in-depth color work I've done with any project, and that's saying something because I really modified it to not have the pine trees on it. I am not good at tensioning my yarn in color work, I found out, and also I learned a lesson with this project, a really big one, and that is speckled yarn does not make for the best color work. I really thought that these colors would play well together for color work, but I realized that the cream colored yarn had too much going on in the way of dark colored speckles, and I thought it really muddied this color work. So probably right around here, I just decided to abandon the plan for the pine tree and just kind of gradually move into this color. So these yarns are, again, this is the same dyer as the Drikey hat. This blackish yarn is Periwinkle Sheep watercolor sock. Again, it's a superwash merino nylon sock yarn. This is not held double like the Drikey hat. And this colorway, I believe, is called Thunderstorm. Let's see if I can get the color right. That's a little better. And it's a lovely semi-solid tonal gray. And the speckled color is Plymouth Happy Feet 100 Splash in the colorway 104 Autumn. I knit this on a size 3 needle. The pattern called for a size 3 and a size 4, but I stayed with a size 3 throughout. I just kind of tensioned my yarn. I'm hopeful this will fit the baby for his or her 9-month, right around Christmas. The baby's due in March, and I'm hopeful it will fit the baby for this fall and maybe a little bit into next fall, but I'm not sure. I also modified the charts for the color work on the wrist. I just decided to just barely dabble in the color work there. And again, this also has the Vickle braid on it. So this sweater needs buttons, it needs a good soak, and I'm hoping some of my tension issues with the color work evens out after that. But this was quite an enjoyable knit. I've never knit a V-neck before, you know, a little raglan, kind of like a Henley V-neck, so that was fun. So overall, I enjoyed this, and I do think I would make this pattern again, but I would definitely choose solid or very, very close to solid yarns. I will say I thought the pattern was not as clear as it could have been. I think it made some assumptions that the user would have to do a leap in logic for. I just think it was not, some things were not as obvious as they should have been. It required too many leaps of logic on the knitter's part, if that makes sense. So if this is your first colorwork sweater, I don't know if I would recommend it for a first colorwork sweater personally. So that's it for finished objects, and that brings us to works in progress. I have 2 things to share with you, and one of them is a spoiler for my mom, who I know watches this podcast every single week, and I love you, Mom. But it's your Christmas gift, so if your name is Dorothy and you are my mom, I would highly recommend that you skip ahead about 2 minutes, and then you won't be spoiled about your Christmas gift. So this is your warning, Mom. Really, shut it off now. Okay, let's get to it. I am carrying my mom's project in this Erin Lane bag that I got at SAF last year, and I'm knitting my mom a pair of socks. I taught my mom to knit socks, and she's gradually moved away from them, so I like to knit her socks because they're something that she wouldn't necessarily make for herself. This is Twist Fibers Studios. It's the Fairview Fingering, which is a 75-25 superwash merino nylon. And the colorway is Lakeside. And it's this lovely variegated green and blue and gold. It's so sunny out right now, you guys. I'm sorry that stuff is getting a little blown out. This is better. So I am knitting these on a size 1 Chiaogu, and for the first time in ages, I'm knitting these 2 at a time. And you can see I am just barely beyond the toes. These are knitting up quickly. They're just plain stockinette, because that's my favorite, and I'm really pleased with how they are knitting up. These will not be done anytime soon. You know, they're 2 at a time. They're not quite as quick as if I won't be seeing the progress like I would if I were knitting these 1 at a time. So, yeah, I'm really enjoying these. Not much more to be said, except that this yarn is the last. I was reviewing what I purchased at SAF last year, and that is the Southeastern Animal Fiber Fair. It's in Western North Carolina, and I went last year with 3 girlfriends. And we are going again this year, so if you're going to be at SAF, please say hello if you see me. I don't know everyone's faces, but you know me, so please do stop me and say hello. So, where was I going with this? Oh, but I was reviewing the yarn purchases that I made last year, and I have knit. This is the last skein of yarn that I bought, and now I have no more SAF skeins left in my stash, so that felt pretty good that I've used what I've bought in the past year. I will say I have plenty of other stash that is a lot older that has not been getting the same kind of attention. So that does not, just because I'm using up all of my SAF yarn from 2015 does not give me free rein to go all supermarket sweep at SAF 2016. Okay, so Mom, if you're watching, now's the time to come back. The next project I have to share with you is, and I'm carrying this in a project bag that is the first time I'm using it, and I'm so excited to do so, because this was a gift from a lovely, lovely podcast viewer named Marcia. I was so surprised when she messaged me a few months ago and asked if she could mail me something, and then this beautiful bag turned up. It's an enormous bag. It's perfect for larger projects like a 2-skein shawl, a sweater, that kind of thing. And this is I finally have the perfect project to put in it. I don't believe Marcia has an Etsy shop, but she just made this because she's a sewist, and it's just, it's quilted all over, and it's, knitted fabric, and the bottom is fabric, but it looks like stockinette knitting. So yeah, I really love this, Marcia, and I kept the tag on from Marcia because it just was so thoughtful and means so much to me. So thank you again, Marcia. So it occurred to me as I was finishing not really the Anders sweater, it occurred to me that a friend of mine who has a little girl, the little girl will be 2 years old in a month, actually a month from today, which means I need to keep knitting. And I didn't knit her anything for her first birthday. I knit her a sweater and a hat, and I might have knit her something else before she was born. And I see this friend, and I have lunch with her and her daughter. And this little girl is just such a sweetheart. I decided to go through my stash, go on Ravelry, and see what I could make her. And I wanted to try and find a pattern that would allow me to knit something that was fast, that would knit up quickly, and would also be an object that she could wear for hopefully a year or 2. And I found that with this pattern. This is the In Threes cardigan by Kelly Herdrich. And it is this lovely little cap-sleeved cardigan, open front. It's exactly what I was looking for. It's a paid-for pattern, and it comes in sizes for anywhere from newborn to 6 months all the way up to a 5. So really quite a nice range of sizes. I'm going to knit the 3T because the little girl is currently in a 2T, and I'm hoping if I knit a 3T, and I'm a bit of a loose knitter, I'm hoping it can fit her for a while. I will say she's quite tall for her age already, and so I'll add some length to it there. But I'm thrilled with how quickly this is working up. I feel like in no time at all, I'm literally 2 rows away from splitting for the sleeves. I'm knitting this on a size 8 needle, which is a 5mm. It's exactly what the pattern calls for. I did not swatch. For kids' clothing, I don't really swatch unless it's a really, really important I've never swatched for a kid's sweater. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm lying. I never swatch for kids stuff because it's gonna fit the kid at one time or another. So, it's a really cleverly designed pattern. The increases in the yoke are done quite invisibly. So it's these lovely alternating panels of garter and stockinette, and I am really close to splitting for the sleeves. In fact, it's just awkward until I split for the sleeves. It just looks like a big lump, but I'll do my best to show you what it'll look like. Oh, I have yarn floof in my nose. So here's what it looks like. The stitch markers here at the front are what the sleeves will be. So it's already, I'm done with the buttonholes, and I'm really loving how this is working up. This yarn is Miss Babs' Yowza What a Skein, which is a worsted weight yarn, and it's 560 yards of superwash merino, and the colorway is Oyster, which is this lovely, almost nearly solid gray, but there's just a little bit of tonality in there. And it really is Yowza What a Skein because this cake, I've used some yardage now, but this cake is enormous. I mean, this thing is solid. So, I really like that it kind of matches the inside of my project bag. I've got 2 rows until I split for the sleeves, and hopefully the rest of it will just fly. Thank goodness for kids' clothing and big needles and fat yarn, and hopefully I will get this done in time. Finally, that brings me to odds and ends, and I thought I would just kind of tell you about the week I've had. To be honest, I even put on Instagram that I wasn't going to record this week because it's been kind of a week, but I had so many things to show you, so much knitting progress, that I set aside my tiredness and rallied, and here I am recording for you guys. So hopefully you're enjoying the episode because I'm enjoying making it. I thought I would just tell you about my week so you could kind of see where I'm coming from when I said it was kind of a long week with a lot going on. So on last Tuesday, I took the day off, and Josh and I went to the Outer Banks of North Carolina for the day and had lunch at our favorite restaurant, Kill Devil Grill. We took a walk on the beach, which was lovely. Josh doesn't have class on Tuesday, so we took advantage of that and my day off and went down to the Outer Banks for a little adventure. The winds were pretty strong. The hurricane was in Florida at that point, off the coast of Florida and Georgia at that point, but the winds were still pretty strong and the waves were pretty kicked up, so we enjoyed ourselves. And then on Tuesday night, the whole reason I was off work that day was to go to a concert. I had tickets to see Johnny Lang, who is a blues singer in his 30s. I have seen him in concert, including Tuesday. It's been seven concerts that I've seen him in. I don't even know how we discovered him, but my mom can probably tell me how. I don't even remember. Maybe we read about him in a magazine or heard him on the radio. The radio would make sense, but I don't know. But he was never hugely popular, but he started singing when he was 14 and 15 and had a song go pretty big called Lie to Me. And so he was touring at age 15, and he came to this little club in Pittsburgh called Graffiti. And my mom got tickets through, I think a friend of hers, her husband worked at a radio station. And I mean, it was this little divey nightclub from what I remember. Normally you'd have to be 21 to go in there, but my mom somehow asked permission to bring myself and my best friend, who we were 13 or 14. I think we were 14 at the time. I think this was like 1997. So yeah, that was the first concert I really wanted to go to. I attended a couple with my parents. My mom likes to remind me that when I was little, they took me to a concert for the band Chicago, and like, I don't know, 45 seconds into the first song, I was like, is it time to go home? So since then, I've grown to enjoy concerts a lot more. And so that was my first concert for Johnny Lang, and since then I've seen him. I saw him in high school with my high school boyfriend. I saw him in college with a friend, and this was the third time I've seen him where I live now in Virginia. So I feel like we've grown up together in a way, Johnny Lang and I, and he's still this amazing performer. His music is still bluesy. He's gotten a bit more Christian focused in the past few years, but his early stuff is really what I'm all about. So I actually had VIP tickets through my workplace, which was pretty exciting. So the entire the club I went to is called the Norva, and it's in downtown Norfolk. And it's a really well-known venue. It's a smaller venue, but they still bring in pretty big names. They probably fit like 2,000 people in there. So, and it's apparently known for, the bands know it as a place where there's really good perks for the bands, in terms of the accommodations and that kind of stuff. So it's a popular destination. And it's the second floor was entirely shut down for VIP. Normally there's just part of the second floor shut down, but there's a VIP lounge with, I went in and I got a drink. But the second floor was pretty quiet, and I got there early enough that I was able to get a seat. They had bar stools kind of lining the U-shaped balcony. So I got a seat alongside the stage, not too far back from the stage. And it was a really great concert. I really enjoyed myself. I'm no good at this. It's no good if you spoil like 2 minutes after you filmed about your mom's Christmas present. Anyway, it was a great concert. I went home, and then I woke up Wednesday and I had a tickle in my throat, like I was getting sick. And I was really hoping that that wasn't the case, but my head was clogged up, and it wasn't even like my ears were just ringing from the concert still. I just felt really crappy, but short of being really, really sick, I'm not in a job where it's easy for me to just call in, especially when I know some other folks are on vacation, and it's hard. I'm not trying to be a masochist, and I'm not trying to get other people sick by being at work, but I tried to minimize my time there and work from home as much as I could, but it was impossible to miss work. Also, I had a job interview Wednesday and Thursday. It was a job interview at my workplace. I don't want to talk about it too much more than that, but I just really wanted to go and get these interviews done with. I had 2 interviews on Wednesday and I had 1 on Thursday. So I tried to make the best of it, drank a lot of water, and get through it. And I think they went okay. We'll see. I should know more this week or next week, probably. So I worked through Wednesday and Thursday. We were watching this hurricane. I'm an editor where I'm kind of in charge of the newsroom at night. Not kind of. I am in charge of the newsroom at night. I need to own that. And, planning and looking ahead and organizing and executing a plan for coverage for a big event is kind of one of my duties. So we were keeping an eye on it, and at one point we were in the path of the storm, and then it was supposed to take a drastic turn and loop back around to Florida. So we had a plan for full coverage for the weekend when it was going to hit, and then we set it aside because we were out of the cone of uncertainty. So cut to Saturday. I had a knitting date with friends in the morning, and then we knew it was going to rain Saturday and Sunday, but the forecast was only like 2 to 4 inches of rain. Norfolk is one of the lowest places on the East Coast. It has experienced the most relative sea level rise anywhere on the East Coast in the past whatever years. It's very prone to flooding. It only takes a heavy rain for streets to flood. And so I thought it would be kind of a traditional nuisance flooding, maybe a little achiness. Well, we ended up getting really walloped with rain. We got, I think, about 6 inches Saturday night, and we would go look out the window at work, and we could just see, there's an intersection that floods out of one window. We can see it from this one window in a conference room, and you could just see the water moving because it was just, the waves were just undulating, and the wind was just blowing it, these gusts would come in. So we started to get a little worried about being able to finish the paper and for us to get home. So coupled with the fact that there was a local college student who was missing, and we were trying to follow that story and have weather coverage. And I was trying to look ahead to Sunday when it would kind of be the aftermath of the storm, and we'd really want to be covering it. But Sunday, it's a weekend where we have very limited staffing on the weekends. And I was trying to arrange an SUV rental for a photographer and a reporter to go around. So I was just doing 87 things. And it was a really long day. Oh, and if I can backpedal. Friday I had to do my job and someone else's job, which was not ideal, but again, someone's on vacation, you do what you need to do to get it done, but I was feeling crappy. Yeah, so Friday was rough. Saturday was really rough. I ended up coming home Saturday night. We tried to finish the paper as quickly as possible. I sent folks home early if I could. You know, one person is a mom and has a little baby, so she was trying to get home to her. She couldn't even get home to there. She had to just go to her mom's house instead, which was closer. So it was just a mess, you know. It looked like really bad flooding, some of the worst I've seen in 11 years here. So I ended up getting home fine. You know, I drove safely, watched for trees. You know, we've had a lot of rain in the past month or two, so we knew that there would be some trees that would probably come down because of this storm. And sure enough, a lot of people had tree damage. So I got home and I had to bring a reporter with me because she couldn't get home to her home in Virginia Beach. So we had a slumber party. She stayed here on the couch where I'm sitting. And then first thing Sunday, we were up updating the website with, you know, from my house, just trying to like feed the website. So I did that for about 4 hours. Again, it was my day off, but so cut to yesterday afternoon when I normally record, and I was just exhausted. I couldn't do it. I could barely form a sentence. So I went to bed early last night, got up today. The gym wasn't open until noon, and I have been off since Wednesday. I went Wednesday because I really, even though I woke up not feeling great, I wanted to have a workout in the day of my interview. I felt like it would calm me down, you know, de-stress me. And it did, but I left about 3/4 of the way through because I just wasn't feeling great. So Wednesday to Monday, that's the kind of break I've had. So I was nervous about going back to the gym today after such a break, but it went fine. And I'm getting better at Zumba, the Latin dance class. I'm learning the steps bit by bit. So cut to now, it's almost dinner time Monday, but I really wanted to film for you guys. So thankfully I haven't done any work today. It's been quite an ordeal, but I'm glad the storm is over. We had we're in an apartment building. It's up on stilts, so we park our cars underneath, and we were able to get in and out of our driveway. We're very fortunate that we're in a part of the neighborhood that doesn't flood especially badly. I didn't know that before we moved here, but that was good to know. It's very fortunate now. So yeah, we took a walk yesterday, and I will insert a couple photos here of the damage we saw. A tree came down at the local dog park. We don't frequent the dog park much because Gracie is not especially friendly with other dogs, but we just, we like to walk alongside of it, and then she can sniff dogs through the fence. They enjoy that, Gracie enjoys it, so everybody wins. There were cars abandoned everywhere. People just got stuck and had to just leave their car. There was a car right in the middle of this busy road when we were walking. In fact, we saw 2 or 3 of them. It looked very much like something out of The Walking Dead. And then we just happened to see, we were walking our normal path, and we saw like 3 or 4 blocks, we could see down a street and saw a tree down, and I was like, oh, let's go have a look, you know. And it's a shame because it was beautiful last night, you know. Here we are walking around, there's tree branches everywhere, there's leaves everywhere. You know, you can see the flooded cars or what's left of them because they often have a ton of condensation in the windows. You know, they don't look like they were wet on the outside, but you can see how foggy they are inside from the water that had gotten in and then hasn't really had a chance to evaporate. We walked to this tree, we could see this tree down, and it had pulled power lines down, and it had completely smashed this early 90s Chrysler LeBaron. So I will have a photo of that here for you guys to see, but that was the worst thing we saw. That was really bad. We didn't see any houses with damage, but I know a lot of people further out in the suburbs had that. We were very fortunate to get through it the way we did, and it wasn't even a hurricane when it was here. It was a post-tropical cyclone. It just goes to show that it doesn't take much to do a lot of damage. So that was my weekend, and I'm going out to dinner with Josh tonight. It's fall break at his college, so we're going to take advantage and go out to eat on a Monday night, which normally he'd be in class. So yeah, and I'm going to keep knitting and enjoying my day off. So I think that's everything. Hope you didn't mind all of the life blather here at the end. I'll see you next week. So until then, take care, happy knitting, and have a great one. Bye!